Good morning, traders. Welcome to Trading Together. I'm Mel Gacee. Today is Wednesday, February the 4th. How's everybody doing today? It has been an interesting day in the market so far. Lots of range-bound behavior. I'm actually currently in a put right at this moment, so I'm watching it carefully, and I'm about to jump out. In fact, I am. I'm out here. All right. Well, welcome. If you're here this morning, I would love it if you would say hi and drop your name in the chat. This is a friendly, interactive stream. Of course, as soon as I jump out, it's going to finish its drop. That's the way it goes. That's all right. I made 5% on it. This is a friendly, interactive stream, and this is a place for traders of all levels to learn and to grow together. This is a community, and really appreciate having you all here trading. Okay. Mixed signals. We are getting, when I just got out of my put a second too soon. I made 5% on it, but my puts, I should say. But of course, it did continue to drop. We've been in this range, and I'll show it to you here in just a second. Let me zoom out a bit, and it's easier to see. Anna is here. Good morning. All right. Little bit of a range, as you can see, and we're right at the bottom here. Looks like we might try to break down through it. That is something to pay attention to. We're down about 23 points from yesterday's close. And so I got into a put over in here, and then I just jumped out right here when I started this stream. So let's see what we get. We are now breaking 6,900 on the SPX. That is a big level of support. We're down below it. We're at 68.95. But so far, every time we've hit this low today, we've bounced. Let's see if we continue lower. That is a possibility. The Qs are down. That's the QQQs, the ETF over the NASDAQ. We usually run pretty much in sync with the Qs because the Qs are the NASDAQ is the tech index, right? S&P 500 is also very tech heavy. So usually we run the same way that the Qs do, but the Qs have been down below us for a good bit of the morning, and they've been down farther below. So they're low to 1.5% roughly. And this is kind of our low at 0.3 variance. Gavilan is here. Good morning. Got the put stage. Gavilan, nice job for you. I was making tiny little wins today. It's frustrating, but here we are. And I'm skittish today because of the range that we've been seeing. However, it looks to me like we might be trying to break this. So great trade for you, Gavilan. Glad you got some money out of it. If we break the bottom here, we could consider another put. They're just trying to hold it. Usually when they do that, they'll give us a big fat red candle, and then it makes it hard to get in. I am going to load puts here. I'm going to load the 688s. Be careful. Volatility is high today. Things are moving quickly, and the puts are expensive. So are the calls. Premiums are a little higher today, so just be careful with that. Little green candle here. We did break that low, but it's holding it so far. Trying. VIX is coming up at 19.1. So VIX is elevated, which is really important to remember. Even though we've been range bound most of the day, the VIX has been pretty decently elevated. I'm going to try the put right here. I am in, punch it. And I'm not going to stay too long here. We're up about 2%. All right, I'm going to jump out here at 6%. That was fast. Hopefully you guys were able to catch it. Good morning, BD. No trades for me this morning. Oh, sorry to hear that, BD. All right, Gavilan, it has been crazy this morning. I've been making just small wins today because I'm skittish with this range, right? I see the range and I'm watching it. Are we breaking it to the downside here? Possibly, but I'm not going to stick around and find out. I'll take my 6% and jump out. So tell me, BD, why you're not taking trades today. All right, coming back down again. Chop. Yeah, chop, chop, chop. So here's the rule for me when it comes to range or chop sideways markets. This is a sideways market. Let me zoom out so you can really get the better view of how sideways it is. So this is the futures all night, very, very sideways, up and down. We stayed within these two yellow bars, of course, all night because that's the overnight high, overnight low. And now we are starting to break down through it, but we are still barely holding this bottom. So if we come back up and recapture the range, we can get stuck here selling the bottom. That's where we have to be careful. But it has been super rangy. And if we zoom out even more to the 1 hour, you can really see it more clearly there. That's the daily. Sorry, let's get to the 1 hour right there. So yeah, see how this is 20 days, right? So basically 3 weeks, and look at it. Nothing. A little drop here, a little push here, but by and large, right inside this range. And look at what's bordering the range. Yesterday's high and low. All right, we are getting a little drop here. I am going to load puts again, the 687s, but I'm cautious here. I don't want to sell the bottom. I don't know where the bottom is, but I don't want to sell it. So that's given you some idea of this ranginess. It has not gotten better. It has not. Go back to my 1 minute. And let's zoom in here. Slow drop here, but they're not dropping it hard, very slowly pushing it down. 29, 30 points below yesterday's close. That is bearish. I might wait for this moving average to turn back up here. We've been kind of coming down for a while. Let's see what we get here. What's got me more bearish than anything is this elevated VIX sitting at 19. I do feel a rug pull coming. I am sensing it. And we have not retested the overnight low from, what was it, Sunday night. There was a big drop Sunday night, 100-point drop in the pre-market. We tested some of it yesterday. We got down to 684 on the SPY, but the low is at 681. That has not been retested yet. Does need to be retested. It sure does. Does it have to be today or yesterday? No, obviously it does not. Eventually it will get retested. Usually, statistically, it happens within 3 to 5 days. So, with the VIX elevated, with that low hanging out there, I'm just kind of waiting for that rug pull to come, waiting for that shoe to drop. The other thing is that the Qs, the QQQs, that's the ETF over the NASDAQ, are down almost 1.5%. We're down 0.3. There is something a little off there. So something to be aware of is that we're not usually that far out of sync with the Qs. We are today with the elevated VIX, with the overnight low hanging out there, with the Qs being out of sync. And also we've got the mags down by almost a full percent. Something doesn't smell right on the SPY, does it? Something's off here. So I am kind of just waiting for that rug pull to happen. All right, little push here. We have not been able to significantly reclaim the VWAP today. That's another thing. We've come up over it a couple of times, but we've not really been able to get anywhere. They keep pushing it back down under the VWAP. All right, here's a little bit of a climb, about a 15 point. All right, I'm going to jump in those puts, punch it. I am in. It could still continue to climb, but I wanted a nicer entry. It could come back up and test that VWAP, but I'm willing to hold on for a few minutes. I'm willing to let it go against me a bit. All right, Roberto Gaspari is here. Good morning. Good to see you from Georgia. Welcome from Georgia. I hope you're having beautiful weather today. I'm in Colorado, and it's been a bit cold, but I will say the sun is beautiful today. That is the one thing about Colorado that makes the cold livable is the sunshine. We do get a lot of sunny days. All right, we're just flat on our position. I'm just holding it here. Again, I am willing to let this go against me a good bit. I do feel a negative bias in the market today. So that doesn't mean I'm right, but I'm willing to let this go against me for a bit. All right, Roberto Gaspar, what ticker are you mostly trading? Mostly the SPY, Roberto. Great question. Thank you. Almost always the SPY. On this stream, we'll almost always be trading the SPY. And I'm trading 0 days to expiration. So today's expiration. And usually my options are going to be the first strike in the money. So great question, Roberto. Thank you for asking. All right. Giving us a little climb here. So you can see how we've kind of come over the VWAP and under, over it, under it, over it, under it. We haven't really been able to hold anything over the VWAP today yet. That doesn't mean we can't. It just does feel a little bit negative to me. So I'm going to give this some room, let it breathe a little bit. And I'm not looking for a huge win either. All right, a little bit green on our trade. All right, there's 10%. I'm out, punch it. All right, that was a 10% win. That was fun. I think it'll come down more, but like I said, I wasn't looking for anything huge. It's been a little whipsaw, as BD has also stated. We have seen the whipsaw, but I am feeling the negative pull. I am seeing it. Like I said, my biggest three factors that I'm looking at are the VIX being super elevated. And again, in the big scheme of things, is 19 super elevated? No, but it is elevated for where we've been, very elevated. So VIX is elevated. We have an overnight low on Sunday night of 681 on the SPY. So that's the second reason why I'm feeling a little bearish. And the third reason is we're out of sync with the Qs. The Qs are down almost a point and a half, a percentage and a half, and we're down 0.3. Something's not right there. So I am feeling a little bit more bearish than bullish, but I'm not going to be risky because again, we can see the chop. We see it, right? We're moving down slightly, but this is still chop. So we have to be careful. We have to be careful with our trades. The reason I took that put was on this big green candle because every time we've attempted the VWAP, we have been rejected. So when the candles move like this in a big fashion, in a quick way, the premiums get for the puts, they're going to get knocked down. So the reason I jumped into that put was because the premium price was good. And I had a feeling that even if it went up to the VWAP, it was still going to reject. So that was based on what it's done so far. So that's why I took that trade right there. All right. Roberto, I'm a beginner 5 months in. What helps you with over trading and emotion? That is such a good question, Roberto. And thank you for asking. And as a new trader, welcome. This is a place for traders of all levels, but I especially love helping newer traders. I didn't have anyone really to help me get started in the beginning. And, if I can help anybody else, I love to do that. So what I like, Roberto, about your question is, as a newer trader of only 5 months, you have already zeroed in on the true challenge of trading. It isn't your system, it's your emotion. Over trading, fear, greed, revenge trading, FOMO, you name it. And there we go with another drop here, making a new low right here. So see where my cursor is, see where this gray line, as I move my cursor, you can see right here, there's a low, right here, there's a low. It's exactly at the same spot. If we bounce from here, this may be a low that they try to hold today, but look at how we're exactly on to the tick. Do you see it? Watch, let me try it again. I'll put my cursor right there to the tick. You can see it right here, and we just touched it again. Now, if we break it, we've got another leg down. If we bounce from it, that's a nice floor. So let's see what we get. All right, there's a bounce. But Roberta, back to your question, you have nailed it. It is the emotion of trading. And I'll tell you something, for me, I'm stubborn because it took me years to master the emotion. I've been trading for 20 years and it has taken me a long time to get profitable. And I did not get profitable until I learned to manage emotion. Now, some people that have been trading a long time will say, oh, I don't feel anything. I don't believe that. I mean, maybe they don't. Maybe I'm built different. It isn't so much that you need to not feel the emotions. It's the idea is you have to discipline yourself. It's like life in general, right? How many days do we want to go tell the boss to pound sand, right? We want to tell him every single day, him or her, I'm out of here. I quit. I hate this place. We want to say that, right? But why don't we do it? We control our emotions. So it's not a matter of not feeling them. We do feel them. I do feel emotions when I trade. But the idea is we learn to discipline ourselves in trading, just like in other areas of our life. And I'll tell you what, nothing holds a mirror up to your emotions like trading. Trading will make you look square in your own face and face your own emotions. And it is tough. Your fear and your greed and your anger and your FOMO and your revenge, like nothing will hold a mirror up to your inner self like trading will. All right. Oh, good. Aggie is here. Welcome. And Anna, I learned to manage my emotions as well. Great, Anna. I'm so glad to hear that. And Mr. Guy is here. Trade like Hannibal plus Pulse 57. That's funny. All right, Roberto, what a roller coaster of emotions. Thank you for answering. Yeah, you are welcome. And you have nailed it right on the head. Eggie, have followed you for a while. Sometimes I see you take some risks instead of following your strategy. Isn't that risky? Great question, Eggie. I appreciate that. So my strategy, actually, I'll be honest with you, my strategy can morph a little bit. And I do have different strategies, believe it or not, for different markets. By and large, it remains the same. I'm going to use my same indicators. I'm using MACD. I'm using the whole moving average. I'm using my VWAP and my other moving averages. So I'm always using the same indicators, Aggie. And great question, by the way. Thank you for asking it. But in different markets call for different tactics. When you're in a range bound market, and so far we are, I'm on the verge of saying we could be ready to drop. But so far today, we are in a range bound market. When we're in that type of a market, it calls for a slightly different execution, right? So the trade that I just took in front of you all looks like it's different than my standard trade, and it is. But the reason I took this, so for example, if I were trading puts, what I'd like to see is I'd like to see the MACD roll to the red. I'd like to see the whole moving average roll to the pink. I'd like to see us below the VWAP. I'd like to see us in some kind of a trend. That would be great. But watch this. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Watch where the MACD rolls to the upside right here. And let me zoom in. I want to make sure you can see it because this is important and it's a great question, Eggie. This right here, the MACD rolls over, the whole moving average rolls over, it's moving up. We are still under the VWAP, so that's questionable. But if we were in a trending type of market, this might be a trade to the upside. What did I do? I traded it to the downside. That's weird. That doesn't look like my strategy. It looks risky, but what I was banking on were a few things. I've already mentioned the three things that are making me bearish today. Elevated VIX, an overnight low on Sunday night at 681, and the Qs down below us by a solid full percent. Those three things are making me a little bit bearish today. The fourth thing that was different about this trade is I'm trading the range. So in a range bound market, if the range is big enough, I will trade it. And when I can see that we have tried to grab the VWAP 1, 2, 3, 4, and you call this 5 times. 5 times we've tested the VWAP and 5 times we've failed. So when I saw this large candle, I got in because the premiums on the puts at the top of this candle were great. When they moved that big candle like that, they made those premiums really cheap. So I could get in for really cheap with the idea that if we tested this VWAP again, we would probably fail it. So that was my strategy, trading the range, knowing that, and I was willing to give it room to the VWAP and even above it a little bit to give it space to have it move down because I knew I had a good entry point. I had a good price. So thank you for the question, Eggie. And it's not, the strategy is simple, but there are different ways to apply in different markets. And that's huge. And you learn that as you begin to trade longer. You start to see the different markets, the trending markets, the sideways markets, the super choppy markets. Those are all different. We're either going up, we're going down, we're going sideways, or we're bouncing sideways, right? Those market types are all different, and they all call for different, I won't say strategy, but different applying of the indicators, if that makes sense. So thank you, Eggy, for asking that. All right. BD, stop loss is at 260. Okay, I think I missed your original. Okay, in a put 688, in at 220, holding for 300. That would be a huge win, BD, and good luck to you. I've taken very small wins today because of the choppiness, but I do hope you get it. I think we could drop some more. Right now, we're still really doing the range. Even though they gave us a little bit of a lower low, we are still in the range. All right, did not make it out at 260. Good holding that stop loss, BD. Excellent trade. And don't ever be ashamed or angry about taking a stop loss. It is part of trading. You have to take it. You guys have seen me take it on this stream. How many times? 3, 4, 5 times I've taken losses on the stream. So you have to take them. They're part of trading. And the fact that you kept your loss to really small. You said you got in at 220, out at 260. You made a win. Great job. Fantastic. When you said stop loss, it confused me, but I think you mean loss, or you have your sell order for profit. So great job there, BD. I'm glad you made some money on that one. Nice trade. But back to the idea of stops, it's really, really important to take them, to not feel. Here's another. Remember when I said that trading holds the mirror up to your emotions? Here's one. Nobody wants to be wrong. I hate that. I hate being wrong on a trade, but I've learned that, guess what? I'm not going to be right on every trade. I'm not. This is a probabilities game. And I've worked out the formula in my favor to stay profitable, but nobody likes to take that loss. Nobody wants to admit they're wrong. I hate it. I hate it. But that is the key to successful trading. I will probably more than anything else, being able to get out at a predefined stop loss and holding your stops there and using that discipline against your emotion, that's huge. So, that's my stop loss soapbox today. All right. We are pushing back up to the VWAP here. And I am going to wait to see what happens. Either we push it through and they try to get us positive today, which is possible, or we get another rejection here. So let's watch and see. We're right up to our overnight low. We've tried to stay inside of it a lot today. We've tried to stay above it. We dipped below it, recaptured it, dipped below it, recaptured, dipped below it a good bit, tried to recapture, rejected. We're here again. If we pull back up inside over the overnight low, we'll probably go up to at least this middle area. So I'm not taking any puts just yet. Now, if we roll over and reject the overnight low, then I would consider it. I'm watching the MACD, I'm watching the hull, and I'm going to see what we do here at the overnight low. This has been a bit of a trappy market today, I'll say that. And like I said, my wins have not been huge today. The one you saw me take right now, I think was 9 or 10%. That's my biggest win today. I think I've had one at like 3%, 4%, 5%, and 10%. Those have been my wins today. So nothing to be super excited about, but at least I'm green and I'll take it. All right, little rejection again. Let's see. We don't have a rollover yet on the moving average or the MACD, although we are starting to darken up a little bit. We'll pay attention here and see what happens. Let's see what the Qs are doing. Qs are still down 1.3%. Mags are still down 1%. No, there's some support in the mags. And when I say mags, I mean the Magnificent Seven: Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Meta, NVIDIA, Google, Tesla, sometimes Broadcom. By the way, Google reporting tonight, so don't forget that. If you're one who likes to hold overnight, be careful, because Google can definitely affect the market with their earnings. Now, I would like to actually take a look at Google's chart here in a second. But first, I'm going to finish looking at the leaderboard here and find out who's holding the SPY up right now. Right now, it's Apple and Microsoft. Apple up 2.7%, Microsoft up 1.2%. So right now, those guys are holding up the S&P 500, but it's interesting because they're not holding up the Qs, the QQQs. So we need to really be paying attention to that. Bitcoin is on life support. It's really, really struggling, down below 75,000, sitting right now at 73,900. That's no bueno. All right, I do want to take a quick look at about the earnings tonight. Alphabet is the parent company, so Class A, Class B. It's Goog and Goog-L on the tickers. All right, Gavilan, now's the time to buy Bitcoin. I would agree with you, Gavilan. I'm bullish Bitcoin in the long run for sure. All right, starting to get a rejection of this overnight low. Google down 2% today. Let's look at the daily chart. Well, getting a little bit of rolling over here. Now, Google has been really on. All right, I'm going to load some puts here. Wow, they're finally a little, well, 230. 688 puts is what I'm looking at. Not in them yet, just looking. That MACD is not rolled over. They're trying to hold it. MACD wants to roll over. We don't have a lot of room to the bottom. I might. There's just no room between here and here. Not enough room to make money. Now, do we have to bounce here? No, but it's a possibility. So that risk is too much for me. The reward is not big enough for the risk on this trade. So I'm going to wait. I'm waiting on that one. Okay. So let me finish Google and then I'll answer that question, Eggy. It's a great question. Okay, so Google down today, down yesterday, but sitting at all-time highs. So Google can move the market with its earnings. So this little on Thinkorswim, these little icons here will tell you that there's earnings coming up, and this one right here, the telephone means the call. So they'll have their earnings right after the close. Actually, it says 3:30. Yeah, Central. So right after the close. And then they'll have their call right after that. And usually that's when the CEO gets on and rallies the troops and tells everybody how great we are and how good we're going to do in the next year. So we will see what happens there. It does look like Google has been doing a great job. So here's the problem with earnings, and this is why I don't trade them. I do not trade earnings because they're nothing more than a crapshoot. You'll see it time and time again. A company can really, really crush the earnings and do so good and then wind up dropping. Or a company can really just fail their earnings completely, just really not look good at all. And then their stock climbs. It happens over and over and over. And there's not a lot of logic to it. So I don't trade earnings. I think it's just too much of a gamble. The IV on some of these tickers is just over the top. You know, they've got implied moves of 10%. You've got your IV so high that it's going to be hard to make money, even if it does move that direction. So very, very challenging. I don't do it. But back to your question, Eggy, why to choose the 688 when you're at 687 right now? It's a great question, Eggy. I'm going to try to show you my monitor tab, excuse me, my option chain. I'm going to show you that right now, and I'll show you how I choose the strike that I'm going to be in. All right, there's our little bounce. I'm glad we didn't get suckered in. That was a little bit of a kind of saying, come on in, come on in. But we were too close to this bottom here to make the risk worth it. Now, if we break the bottom, we might consider jumping in again. I don't know yet. Let's watch and see. We are down 28 points from yesterday's close. All right, I'm going to try to keep an eye on that while I show you my options tab. So here, Eggy, right now we are trading at 686 on the SPY. In the money are 687s. And see how they're bouncing? Watch how they're bouncing between 687 and 688. That's because the SPY is obviously moving. I will most of the time grab this first option in the money. So in this shaded area, first option in the money. The big idea is this delta right here. I want my delta to be greater than 50. So it's not a hard and fast rule, Eggy, where you can't take one out of the money or even two out of the money carefully. It's more making sure that we've got some good deltas. So I will take a delta as low as 40. But I like to have my deltas sitting at 50 or better. That's the main idea between taking the first trade in the money. All right, we're dropping again. Same on the call side. Notice that the call sides start the money at 686, right? So puts are starting at 687, calls are starting at 686. Same idea. These calls are sitting at 57 on the delta. The next ones out of the money are 49. That's okay. The idea is they're going to move in your favor. All right, I'm going to load some puts here to see if we break the bottom. I'm looking at the 687s. Let's see if we break this bottom here. I'm not in them yet. I want to see what we're doing. And let me get out of Google. You got the ID on Google, right? All right, little green candle here. First one in several. All right, BD, like to see it break the 1003 pin bar wick. Let's see. It did break it. We have broken it. You might have written that before we broke it, but that's exactly what it just did. That is the same wick I've been looking at. This one, that, and this one. All right, that's a big red bar, so I'm going to wait a minute. 35, we're dropping. All right, I'm going to try a quick put here. It's kind of extended, so it might be more of a challenge on this one. Let's see if we can get anything out of it. I'm not going to stay in for a long time. All day today, I've taken small wins, and I don't think this will be any exception. All right, I'm out. That's a break even. I wanted to see this bar turn deeper red, and it started giving us a little green. So I think it was like 1%. It's basically a break even. We'll wait. I'm going to wait for this to give us a little bit of a reversal. And maybe it drops more. I think it could. Not dropping super fast, but it's pretty consistent. And I think it's going to try at some point. I think, there we go. I think it's going to try to catch up with the Qs. All right, little green candle coming on here. All right, still dropping. All right. Look at that. And I could have stayed in longer, but when it was just still breaking that low, I took my little win, and well, it was flat. So I'm okay with that. Here we go, 0.6 down. All right, so now we're finally catching up a little bit to the Qs. All right, Gavelin got 1%. Okay. Basically a break even, yeah. All right, Guy, may reverse when it hits the 50 on the daily. That's exactly right, Guy. That's the line I've been watching for. It's also the trend line. This is super extended. Look at how many red candles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 red candles. Wowza. Roberto, do you think we would be bullish with Q and SPY tomorrow? It's a good question, Roberto. It depends on if we hit that 681. I'm really waiting for that to hit before we turn bullish, but we don't have to. So we'll have to watch the close as well, Roberto. That tells us a lot more than we know right now, is where we close and how we close. All right, look at that VIX popping up there. What did we say? Watch that VIX. Could have stayed longer on that put. It would have been a better trade, but with the tiny candles it was making here and just having broken the bottom, I was not ready to hold it. Okay, still dropping. What I like I said, what I'm waiting for here is some turnaround to be able to get in, and maybe they just keep dropping from here. So that is also a challenge when this happens, when this super extended drop happens. It's very hard to trade that because you just don't know where the bottom is. But we're catching up pretty quick to the Qs, that's for sure. Qs are down almost 2% now. So Qs dropping right at the same time we are. All right, Roberto, what time frame are you using? Thank you. Absolutely, Roberto. I am looking at the minute chart. Now I zoom out. I look at the 15. I look at the hourly, daily, weekly. I look at all of them, but I trade on the minute chart because I'm in and out very quickly. I want to see every tick. Look at that VIX. Look at it go. 8% up today, almost 9. All right, finally getting a little green here, tiny little green. Come on. All right, BD, are you in something? Yeah, I think we're in sell mode right now. We could try a smaller trade. We could try 685, something smaller, nothing too risky. Got to be careful though. All right, a little green here. BD's in the 687, puts in at 240, out at 310. Great, BD. Nicely done. Nail biter on that one. Yeah, I bet. Although I'll have to say it was really dropping nicely there for you. So good job there. All right, little bounce here at 684. Almost where we bounced yesterday. Here's this blue line right here, the low of day from yesterday at 684. And we just came just a hair away, and we got a little bit of a response there. We should come back and test it, in my opinion, especially if we're going to continue down being bearish. All right, we went from 0.3 down to 0.7 down in just a few minutes. I'm going to take a small put trade just for the heck of it to see if we can get this high of day from yesterday. I'm in it, punch it. I forget to say that. All right. I'm getting a bounce there. We came real close to that high of yesterday's low. So let's, hopefully we don't bounce on this candle. Let's see here. Looking a little bouncy here. I don't like it. Yeah, I don't like the bounce. I don't think we're done dropping, but this is a bounce. I don't like this green candle. Do I trade with stop loss? Yes, I do, but I don't use an automatic stop loss. Again, it's a great question. I use a mental stop loss basically. I watch my trades. I'm only in one at a time, so I'm watching them carefully, and I do trade with a stop loss. Great question. All right, another 1 minute pin bar. Thank you, BD. So remember when I said we don't want to sell the bottom? This is why I don't usually trade a move that's ongoing, because you just never know when it's going to stop. I don't think we're done dropping today, but we could get an upward move here. All right. Have a great rest of your day. Catch you tomorrow. Okay, BD, catch you tomorrow. Great job today. So we do have just the beginnings of the MACD curling up and the HMA pushing up. So that's a reversal. Yep, that was a bad entry. All right, so I'm going to give this a little room. Like I said, I don't think we're done dropping today, but this could be a reversal here. So just going to have to give it a little room and see if we can pull it back down a bit. VIX gave us a drop here. Again, I really don't think we're done dropping today, but you never know. So like I said, I'm giving it a little room. We just don't know how high it's going to climb before they come back down. That's the problem. This is exactly why I don't like to play the same move more than once. But they suckered me in. They FOMO'd me in. They did it. All right, possibly cost average. I might, Gavilan, just because it does, I do think we have more to drop, but I'm going to have to watch and see how hard they push this to the upside. I think it will turn and drop some more, but you never know. You never know. This is a good push here. I might cost average it. I might. I would have to wait for a trade in the opposite direction, and that's the problem. I don't know how far they're going to push it. VIX is still sitting at 19, even though it's come down. We were up at 19.7. We're sitting at 19.1. Well, I hate that we are coming up to the end of the stream and we're in the middle of a trade. But I am probably going to watch this for a minute and give it a little room. And if we get a good signal toward the downside, I will probably average it. If we don't and we hit 50 before then, I will probably stop it. So at this point, I'm watching it. We just got done talking about FOMO. You're right, Roberto. We did. We did. So yeah, that is the plan on this trade. Plan for today is, you know, I will still look at calls over the VWAP here. If that happens, we can still look at calls over the VWAP. And I'm looking for puts on any turn down, meaning the hull needs to turn down and the MACD needs to turn down. So we are up to the end of the stream, but that is the plan for this trade. That is the plan for today. Good luck to you guys. Like I said, be careful holding anything overnight with Google. That could be a problem, depending on which way that moves. I appreciate you guys so much. Thanks for joining. Thanks for being so interactive. You guys are amazing. We will be back tomorrow at 11 Eastern. Thank you guys so much for being here, and we'll see you then. Bye for now.